Okay, welcome back to Physical Science. Today we're going to start going over velocity. Okay, velocity is a real simple formula on how to calculate. You've been doing it in your math class for a long time. And today we're going to apply it to physics inside of our physical science class. So today what we're going to do is go over that real simple formula, but we are going to, I'm going to use 6 example problems that you can use and refer to help you finish your homework, which I'm going to have attached to this video. Okay, so let's get going on this. Now these questions, I'm going to try and zoom in on them a little bit, but I'm also going to send you a copy of these. These are not your homework problems, but let's see. Yeah, you can read that pretty good right there. Okay, I'm going to show you the best way I know. Now some of you can just do this off the top of your head. You don't even hardly have to do the calculations. But most of us need to have a step-by-step process to be able to figure out how to do these. So I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this so that you get them right every single time. Okay? All right, so the formula we're going to be using today is velocity is equal to distance divided by time. Now you see that all the time. Like if you have a car, you're driving down the road, you're going 35 miles per hour. Miles is the distance, per means divided by, and hour would be the time. So when you find out how you're going 35 miles per hour, that's the velocity or speed of your car. Okay? So let's go over some examples. So the first one here says that Howard walks down a hiking trail that is 80 meters long, and it takes him 32 seconds to walk this distance. Calculate his velocity. Now, the easiest thing I've ever learned to do, and this is why you need to memorize your units, is I like to just highlight the numbers. Okay, so there's 80 meters, there's 32 seconds. Let's write those over here. There's 80 meters, and there's 32 seconds. Now meters, that's like a meter stick. So that's the units for distance. And 32 seconds, of course, that's just like your watch. So that is the time right there. And what do they ask you to calculate? The velocity, v. So that's what we don't know. So now you know what each of the numbers are. So now what we're going to do is we're going to write down the formula. V is equal to d over t. Now we plug in the numbers. Or like you say, plug and play. The v, we don't know what that is. So we're just going to leave v right there. The d, we look over here, and the d is 80. So the 80 goes up here where the d is. And then down below that is the t. So we're going to divide by t, and t we said was 32. So then the last step, we're going to take our calculators. Take our calculator, and we're going to say 80 divided by 32. And we get 2.5, or 2.5. Okay, so 2.5. Now, what are the units that have to go on the end there? Well, to figure out those units, I go back and I put the units back into the problem. So the 80 over here, if you look at the 80, that used to have an m next to it. That's meters. And the 32 used to have seconds. So there's seconds down there. So the answer is going to be meters divided by seconds, or meters per second. Okay? So that's going to be the units for our velocity, is meters per second. It's just like miles per hour. Okay? But in the metric system, we like to use 2 different kind of units. One is meters per second. The other one is this next one I'm going to show you. Okay? Let me fold my paper in half because I got my camera zoomed in here. Fold this in half, and then we can work on this one. Oops. Cut part of that question out there. There we go. All right. Hopefully you can read that. Now, this one says In fact, I'm just going to go straight through this thing. It says an airplane is flying for 800 kilometers to Montana. The plane takes 4 hours to travel this distance. What's the velocity of the plane? Again, I'm just going to go and pull my numbers out. There's an 800 right there. So I'm going to write that right here. 800 kilometers. Now, see, that's bigger than meters. Kilometers is almost like about a mile. If the plane takes, there's 4 hours. So there's a 4, that's hours. So instead of seconds, this one's in hours. So these are bigger units. And you usually see bigger units like this when we talk about how fast a car is traveling, a truck is traveling, a train, or an airplane. Okay, we'll use bigger units because they're traveling bigger distances over longer periods of time. And once again, they want us to find the velocity, so we'll put a v over down here. Now, kilometers, that's just like meters, that's a distance. That's how far or long something is. Hours, of course, you know that's time. So we're ready to go. So we write down our formula. V is equal to d over t. Now we start plugging the numbers where they go in the formula. So the v is, we don't know. So we're just going to leave that right there. Leave the v in. And over here on top of this line, we got d, which is 800. And we're going to divide it by time, and the time is 4. So v is just going to be 800 divided by 4, which is 200. Okay, now let's take a look at these units. We're going to put the units back in. By the 800 right here, it goes kilometers. And then down here by the 4 is hours. So we're going to put hours down there. So our answer is going to be kilometers divided by hours. So kilometers divided by hours right there. So our answer is 200 kilometers per hour. That's how fast our airplane was flying. That's a pretty good speed. That'd be about a twin engine turboprop or maybe a slow jet or something. Okay? All right, now in these two problems here, we tried to calculate for velocity. The next couple of problems, we're going to solve what happens if they give us velocity and time, and we're looking for distance. Okay? So, our next problem is we're talking about a killer whale. I actually looked this up, so these numbers are actually pretty accurate. A killer whale can go like close to 45 kilometers per hour, or like 20 some odd miles per hour. When it's hunting something down, it can go pretty quick. So we got a killer whale here, and I converted it down to meters per second. So kilometers is swimming along at 12 meters per second when it's chasing its prey. If the whale chases its victim for 100 seconds, how far did the whale swim? Now, once again, I'm going to write down my numbers. I got 12 meters per second. I have another one. Here's another number, 100 seconds. And what they're looking for, how far. So how far, that's how far away, how long, that's distance. They're looking for distance on this one. So let's go back up and figure out what these are. Meters per second, we just talked about that. That's the units for velocity. Figured that out in problem number 1. Seconds, you remember that's time. And we're looking for distance. So write down the same formula, always write down the formula. Distance divided by time. Now your velocity v, we got that one. That one's 12 this time. Then we got our fraction over here. Now the d up here, that's what we don't know. So we're going to leave d right there in the formula. And then t down here is 100. See, some people don't know, am I supposed to multiply the numbers? Am I supposed to divide the numbers? If you carefully set it up in the formula like this, the formula tells you automatically what you're supposed to do. Now I got to solve for that d. In other words, what number divided by 100 gives me 12? Well, the way you learn this in your algebra class is you're trying to get d by itself, and you're dividing by 100 here. So we're going to need to get rid of that 100. So we're going to do the opposite. So instead of dividing by 100, you're going to multiply by 100. Okay, that way you got a 100 on top, 100 on the bottom, and you got distance is equal to 100 times 12. So that's going to be 1200. Now the units. What are the distance for distance? The units for distance is going to come in, remember we said the length is going to be meters. So there's the answer for this one, 1,200 meters. Okay? Now let's try another one, but this time we use kilometers and hours again. We're still going to solve for distance, but we are going to do it in kilometers and hours. You get the center real good so you can read it. We got a passenger train. It's speeding along at 90 kilometers per hour. That's a pretty good pace there. Typical Amtrak. And it's going to be traveling for 4 hours. They want to know how far did the train travel. So we're going to do this the same way. Go in there. Let's get our numbers out. There's a 90. That's kilometers per hour. And then there's another number, 4 hours. So 4 hours. And what are they looking for? How far did the train travel? So we're looking for distance again. So we'll put a D down here with a question mark. Now up here, kilometers per hour. We just learned that in question number 2. That is velocity. And 4 hours, that's time again. So that's going to be T. So now we're ready to write down your formula. Always write down your formula. D over T. Now, what the V is, we figured that out. They gave it to us. That's 90. Equals, set up your fraction. The D is, we don't know. We don't know what D is, so we're going to leave it right there. And then you got time down here in the bottom. That's supposed to be 4. Now we just got to do a little bit of algebra. What number divided by 4 gives me 90? So in algebra they teach us, since we're divided by 4, we need to do the opposite. Get that D by itself. And if you multiply this side by 4, you got to multiply this side by 4. That way you got 1 on the bottom, 1 on the top. They cancel out. They go away. So D is going to be equal to 4 times 90. So 4 times 9 is 36. And you tack on that 0. And now the distance, the units for distance, let's take a look over here. They give us kilometers. Okay, not meters this time. So we're going to use kilometers right there. And there's my answer, 360 kilometers or kilometers. Okay, last 2 examples for today. So far we've calculated how to find the velocity. Then we had to find out how to calculate the, one second here, we've had to calculate velocity, then we calculate distance. Now the last part we're going to do is we're going to calculate time. Now I'm not going to lie, this is the hardest one because it involves doing something in algebra that a lot of people forget how to do. But I'm going to show you, and it's going to make it real easy for you. Okay? So start off the same way. Number 5, how much will it take for a jogger running at 4 meters per second to travel a distance of 800 meters? So let's go pull our numbers out. There's a 4 meters per second. There's an 800 meters right there. And what are they looking for? How much time? So they want us to find time this time. Time this time. That sounds funny. All right, so we got 4 meters per second. We learned that in problem number 1. That is a velocity. And meters, that is a distance. So we're looking for time this time. So here we go. We're going to do V is equal to D over T. Okay? Now just plug in the numbers. V is, come over here and check it, that's a 4. And the D is 800. And the T down here, we don't know, so we're going to leave T right there. Now, here's the tricky part. In your math class, your math teacher taught you that if you got to try and find something in the denominator, you got to get it out of the denominator first. So we're going to do something called cross multiply divide. Okay? So we're going to use cross multiply divide. So we're going to pretend like this 4 over here is above a 1. And we're going to do cross multiply. So we're going to go T times 4. That gives me 4T. And down here we got 1 cross up times 800 gives me 800. Okay? So now, the divide part. I want to get that t by itself, but it's multiplied by 4. So the only way to get rid of it is do the opposite. Divide. Divide. We're going to do one side, got to do the other. That way, the reason why is because you got a 4 on top, 4 on the bottom, they all disappear. So then we're just left with t over here, and the answer is 800 divided by 4. See, 4 goes in the 8 2 times, there's 2 zeros left over. Now the units for time, let's take a look up here. We have meters per second and meters, so it must be seconds, not hours this time. Okay, so 200 seconds. So what made that hard? You have to do the cross multiply divide thing here. Okay, that's the only tricky part. Now the last problem we're going to do, we're going to do the exact same thing. Excuse me. But this time we're going to use it with kilometers and hours. That way you see a good example of all of these. All right, last one, number 6. We got a truck is driving along at 50 kilometers per hour while on a road trip to the next city 400 kilometers away. How much time will it take the truck to travel this distance? So let's pull our numbers. 50 kilometers per hour. So we got 50 kilometers per hour. There's a 400 right there. So 400, that is kilometers. And what are they looking for? How much time? So we're looking for time. So I'm going to put a question mark there by time. All right, back up here, kilometers per hour. Remember, problem number 2, we figured out that tells me that's velocity. And kilometers, that's a distance, right? Big long distance. So that's D. So now we're ready to do this. Put in our formula first. Always write down the formula. That makes sure you put the numbers in the right place. Otherwise, all that math, hard math you do is going to be a waste of time. So the V right there is 50. So where the V is, I put my 50 right there. The D is up here, and the D is 400. And the T, we don't know. So we're going to just put T down there. Now we're going to do we got that T down in the denominator, so we have to do what our math teacher taught us. You're going to cross multiply and divide. Okay? So remember that 50 is not just sitting there. We're going to assume it's over 1. So here we go. T cross up times 50. So you're going to wind up with 50 times T. And then you cross this way. 1 times 400. This gives you 400. Now the divide part. You got that T right there. It's attached to that 50 by multiplication in between there. So we want to do the opposite and divide both sides by 50. So that way the 50 here and the 50 here crosses out. Leaves you with T. Scoop this up a little bit. So T is equal to 400 divided by 50. Let's see, the zeros cross out. 5 goes into 40, 8 times. And now we need some units on the end. How much time do we use? We're using seconds or hours? If you look over here, we were using hours right there. So we're not going to have seconds. We're going to use hours right there. And there's our answer. That's our last one. So those are 6 examples on how to use the formula V is equal to D over T using meters per second and kilometers per hour. Be sure to email me if you have any questions. I'll talk to you guys later. Stay safe.